I met Clara at a college mixer 11 years ago. She wore this ridiculous yellow headband that clashed with her auburn hair, and for some reason, I thought it was the most charming thing I'd ever seen. We were one of those couples people thought were too sweet to be real, always holding hands, finishing each other's sentences, the whole fairy tale bit. I proposed to her in the cafe where we first met, during a downpour that had stranded us inside with nothing but cold coffee and heart-shaped cookies. It was her idea to get married in spring, at the Arboretum. But things change. Last summer, Clara's best friend, Tessa, got married at this grand lakeside venue, the kind of place where string quartets play on floating platforms and champagne flows like tap water. I was one of the groomsmen. Clara was the maid of honor. Tessa insisted that we both be deeply involved. She always said we were her couple goals. That's where I first saw Aaron. Aaron was the wedding host, a term I didn't even know existed until then. He wasn't just some guy directing traffic. No, Aaron was theatrical. He had this James Bond thing going on, tailored suit, salt and pepper hair, commanding voice, and an effortless ability to make everyone laugh. Clara was immediately enchanted. I noticed it in the way her laugh shifted, lighter, breathier, like the sound she used to make when we first started dating. At first, I brushed it off. People get flirty at weddings, it's practically in the manual. But over the weekend, I watched something form in real time. Every time Clara was near him, her posture changed. Her smile lingered longer. I caught her adjusting her necklace, her hair, her dress, subtle things only someone who loved her for a decade would notice. Aaron noticed too. He mirrored her effortlessly. The last night of the wedding, after all the guests had left and the bridal party was drunk on cheap wine and nostalgia, I stumbled out to the venue's wraparound deck to find them alone. Clara was laughing at something Aaron said, her hand resting lightly on his arm. They didn't see me, and I didn't say anything. But I knew. The next few weeks were like watching a storm form on the horizon. Clara was distant but not cruel. She didn't pick fights, but she wasn't present either. We'd be in the same room and feel miles apart. When I asked if something was wrong, she'd smile too quickly and tell me everything was fine. The truth was always buried in the space between her sentences. Then one day, I opened her laptop to print a receipt and saw his name, Aaron, wedding host. There was a string of emails, not overtly romantic but intimate in tone. Long threads about dreams, regrets, poetry. One line stuck with me: "It felt like you were the only person in the room with me." That was from Clara. I didn't confront her immediately. I needed to be sure. So I did something I'm not proud of. I followed her one Saturday afternoon when she said she was getting coffee with Tessa. Instead, I saw her get into Aaron's car. They drove to a secluded hiking spot, not scandalous in itself, but what I saw when I parked and trailed behind them burned itself into my memory. On a wooden bench overlooking the lake, the same lake where Tessa got married, Clara leaned into him, and he kissed her. Not a peck. Not a mistake. A long, slow kiss like the world had narrowed to just the two of them. I didn't yell. Didn't crash through the trees. I just stood there, frozen. When she got home later that evening, she kissed me on the cheek and asked if I wanted Chinese takeout. I nodded, because I didn't trust myself to speak. And that's when the silence between us became something heavier, something neither of us could lift anymore. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I lay beside Clara, listening to her breath, the rhythm of someone guiltless or someone who had learned to hide it too well. My mind kept looping that moment by the lake, her body leaning into his, the way her hand lingered on his knee. I kept thinking, maybe this isn't the first time. Maybe I just caught the cleanest version of it. I knew I needed to confront her, but I didn't want to scream. I didn't want drama. I just wanted truth, no matter how ugly it came out. The next morning, I made coffee like always. Sat across from her at the table like always. But when she looked up, I didn't pretend anymore. I saw you, I said. At the lake. With Aaron. Clara froze, her spoon halfway to her mouth. There was a pause, a quiet so thick it felt like pressure on my ears. Then she lowered her spoon, slowly, and looked at me like I'd just told her someone died. You followed me, she said quietly. That was her first concern. Not the betrayal. Not the damage. The surveillance. I nodded. I had to know if I was crazy. If I was just being paranoid. She exhaled hard, like the tension had been building for too long. And then, without denial, without protest, she just said, "It wasn't supposed to happen." I laughed, a sharp, humorless sound. But it did. Tears welled in her eyes, but I couldn't tell if they were for me or for what we used to be. "I didn't plan it," she whispered. "He just made me feel seen. Like I wasn't just someone's wife. Someone's default setting." That cut deeper than I expected. I had loved her with every cell in my body. I worked double shifts to pay for our house, stayed up late to rub her back when her migraines hit, remembered the weird way she liked her popcorn, half butter, half salt, no exceptions. But somewhere along the way, all of that turned invisible to her. I asked her if she loved him. She didn't answer. That silence told me everything. "I'm not angry," I finally said. "But I'm done." She cried then. Real tears. She begged me not to throw away what we had. "It was just a mistake," she pleaded. "I needed something different. But I never stopped loving you." But love, I realized, isn't something you keep in a jar on a shelf while you go chase thrills. Love is a choice every day, every moment. And she had chosen someone else. I moved out that weekend. Took only what I needed. Left her the house, the couch we picked together, the mugs we collected from our trips. I didn't want to fight over memories that meant nothing to her anymore. Months passed. I got a studio apartment across town and started painting again, something I hadn't done in years. I joined a local book club. I reconnected with friends I hadn't seen since the wedding. Funny how betrayal can shake you awake from a life you didn't realize you were sleepwalking through. Clara called once. Said she and Aaron had fizzled quickly. That he wasn't what she thought. That she missed me. But I had already started rebuilding. Not a version of our life. Not a replica. Something entirely new. Something mine. And while there are days I still flinch at the memory, the bench, the kiss, her voice saying his name, I've come to see it differently. That moment didn't destroy me. It freed me. Because the end of us wasn't the end of me.